Howdy. I heard on the radio a not so nice message. I heard that some supermarkets in Holland, but some shops in Holland are boycotting Israel. And this message to that is a big warning. Folks, and I'm calling out to all the people who love Israel, who support the Jewish people, to boycott the supermarkets that boycott, or the shops that boycott Israel. Folks, I'll explain a little bit to you. If you boycott Israel, Israel is God's favorite. Yeah? And fighting Israel is fighting the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So actually, you're fighting God, the same God who created this entire universe, including your life. So if you fight God, if you boycott God via Israel, then you boycott yourself. Don't be surprised that you are going to be boycotted by God himself. Yeah? If you boycott Israel, you boycott the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, yeah? Who is called Israel. So if you boycott Israel, then don't be surprised that God might boycott you, God who gave you life, the God of this universe, this creation. Yeah? So be very careful with what you boycott. And to all you who love and support Israel, I call up you to boycott all the shops that boycott Israel. Yeah? Okay. Be very careful with what you boycott. Because if you're fighting Israel, you're actually fighting God, the God who gave you life. So think twice before you do that, things like that. Okay. Because the Bible says, whoever curses Israel will be cursed. Folks, this is told to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob 4,000 years ago, and it is still valid today. Look at the countries all around Israel. They fight Israel, but they are in terrible shape and getting worse. Yeah. So that's a proof that this statement, which is in the Bible, is still correct today. Every country that fights Israel is in pretty terrible shape. Yeah. So know who you are fighting against. It's not Israel, it's God, the God of Israel, because God is protecting Israel ever since it was erected in 1948. Israel never lost a war. And it's supernatural, because if God would not be there, if there would not be God, then Israel would be wiped out, humanly spoken. But since God does exist, He protected Israel, and He's in favor of Israel. He will protect His country, He will protect His people, the Jewish people. Yeah? So know who you fight. You're fighting against God Himself. And He will always be in favor of Israel, protecting it. So know what you do. Okay. Be wise. It's your own life in your own hands. Goodbye.